Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it.
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins and bless up to the world.
And then Jay just put your info on blast like that.
It's what the people want to know, bro. My bad.
Nah, bro. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it.
Let's do it.
It is the morning shake with me, your host, Xavier Hendricks, and of course, my co-host, Mr.
Yes,
Jay
sir,
Paris.
yes, sir. What's Gucci, broski? What's Gucci? It's a beautiful Monday morning.
Indeed it
Good
is.
morning to the folks. What up to the youngins and bless up to the world.
Yeah, man, we got some interesting topics going on today, and without any further ado, I would like to introduce someone that's no stranger to the show. Of course, no stranger to the podcast altogether. She's on a lot of shows. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my wife for 7 years, Anka Hendricks. She's like,
Wifey looking gorgeous.
Yeah, man.
Wifey looking beautiful.
Of
but you
course.
already know the deal, bro.
Of course, man, of course. And then, of course, today we got some interesting conversations going. And it is one of those conversations, man, that can get a little bit heated if you don't watch yourself. But also, it can go in a good direction if you just kind of keep it nice and smooth and nice and interesting. And so we got a lot of interesting stuff going on, man. A lot of interesting stuff going on around the weekend. I don't know if have you been watching football on the weekend? What's been happening?
Then I was watching football. Nah. I wasn't watching football actually because I'm pissed off what took. Can I say that?
No.
Yeah, I'm off. I used to watch wrestling, and usually when those vibes pull through, I'm off of what took place yesterday when Liverpool was supposed to play Man United, bro. So now the United fans want their owner out. Because he's not running the show good enough the way they want it. So now they actually trespassed into the stadium.
Serious,
Into
bro?
the stadium, bro. I think this clip's on YouTube about it, bro. Into the stadium, and then they had to call the game off, postponed.
Because the fans actually came
Yeah.
inside.
The
That's
fans
crazy,
actually
bro.
came inside,
That's
broski.
crazy, that's crazy.
So it's we couldn't watch the game, so let's hope it's sometime this week. But other than that, in the music scene, bro, things has been going really good. This past weekend, I've been bumping two incredible projects. First and foremost, Khaled. DJ Khaled dropped a crazy project, bro. And then on the other side, that's the secular side. But then on the spiritual side, Elevation teamed up with Maverick City. So it's a good balance. It's like Khaled and then Repent. And then Khaled.
And then get into some of the spiritual stuff.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful project. The old church basement. We were just listening to some tracks now, bro, and
facts, bro.
I think it's really gonna make waves.
Just to make a quick mention there that when they dropped last week, they dropped what's that song, bro? Waiting on you or Wait for you or
Yeah.
Wait on you.
Wait on you.
Yeah.
Wait on you.
And it was number one on YouTube for a couple of days, and it was trending number one all the time. It was like up there, and so that was that was something.
Not
dope.
facts.
It's nice to go onto a secular platform and see a worship song trending number one. It's like, yo, thank God.
Not facts.
You know, so it's something interesting and something to be proud of, and something to be proud of the fact that we are part of this movement and part of this thing that's helping to change the world.
Facts.
You know? And which brings us to our topic, man. The reason I say it's interesting to see that on a secular platform where a lot of secularism is being pushed, where you know, moral values and, you know, Christian values is being celebrated, trending as number one, is cool, because a lot of things what's happening in the mainstream media and in popular culture at the moment is kind of contradictory to what moral values of biblical moral values stand for, and also you know, Christian old school Christian moral values is what they call it now. They're calling it old school, and a lot of people are saying that a lot of things should change, and the value system should shift, and the value system should change, and you know, you can do what you want and do however you want. And I was interested in a conversation that there's a popular Christian scientist, well, he doesn't call himself Christian, but the way he speaks, you can hear there's a little bit of you can hear this biblical background influence there. And so he was having a conversation with somebody on the, what they say on the right, but someone that kind of goes up against popular culture, and they were speaking about families. and they were speaking about relationships and whether the original meaning of what a relationship should be has become old school, and how popular culture has shifted the meaning of relationship and how it's shifted the meaning of being one person with one person and kind of making some sort of meaningful relationship out of it. And of course, as Christians, we believe that you should get married, right? And we believe
Facts.
in the biblical way of doing things, and we believe that you should, to the best of your ability, try and do it the way God highlighted for us to be done. So,
Facts.
which is, try stay a virgin and then get married to somebody else who's also stayed a virgin, and also to try and kind of keep that union sacred. Well, keep that union sacred, and keep it between the two of you. And then obviously as time goes, you guys begin to develop a family from that. And also, I'm a strong believer in keeping family values, as far as keeping the family mother and father, and when there's offspring from that union, children from that union, you have the child raised in an environment where there's both parents very active in the children's lives, both parents part of what the children's decisions are, and all that kind of thing. Because we believe as parents, in that first couple of years, while the child's cognitive skills are still being developed, they call it early childhood development, ECD. It's very, very, very critical that you as a parent is so involved in that child's life. And that's what we believe. However, we do understand that culture doesn't believe in those values any longer. We also understand that they push against those values quite strongly in mainstream media, as far as movies, music. They push against those values strongly. And the result of popular culture has resulted now in a lot of children walking around brokenhearted because of the lack of the father figure perhaps in their lives, or the mother, or the broken home, or the things that's happening in and around the home, where children later on, when you hear, even sometimes you get people who have become successful in their mainstream careers, and later on when you ask them what their journey was like, a big thing that they always highlight is, my dad walked out on my family when we were 5. My dad this and that. Even Bieber, with his brand new album, he tried coming up with a little bit of a gospelish kind of album, Christian kind of album. And he mentions it. He says that the only stability I had in my life was the music, because and he then later on in interviews with his when he gets married to Haley, he then says he wants to make sure that his children are raised in an environment. And he says his pastor Judah Smith, when they were speaking about the whole Carl Lenz controversy and everything, he says my pastor is Pastor Judah Smith, and the reason I gravitate towards him is because I love how they sit around the table at supper time. I love how their children can say things, and how he's there as a father, and how the wife is there as a mother, and how they kind of groom their kids in this environment. And then Justin Bieber himself says, I want that for my family because I didn't have that for my family. I didn't have that for myself. Because we all know the popular story. His mom raised him all by himself. And the dad later on came back into the picture, and that was what it was. But again, you can never negate or neglect the fact that a strong family structure and a strong family unit is imperative. And again, Anka and I do a lot of marriage counseling. We find a lot of times, and we're speaking here from experience, so you can disagree with us. It's 100% up to you. Everyone's open to their own opinion. But we find a lot of times that if you don't do things according to the way God intended for it to be done, you run into unnecessary issues that could have been avoided. And that brings us to today's topic, 21st century sex, relationships, and parenting. And I guess the first question, to kind of toss it up into the air, why is mainstream media so hell-bent on trivializing relationships, sex, and parenting? They're pushing to the max to try and trivialize it in movies, in popular culture, in music. I got my opinions on that, but I'll toss it over to you guys. Why are they so adamant on trivializing it, making it like, it's nothing?
I had to think about that for a minute, because if I have to look back a couple of years back when, divorce and all of that stuff was taboo, people really made a big hoo-ha about people who fell into like sexual immorality. They were shunned if you had a child out of wedlock, and it was extreme back in the day. Like you were really, really shunned. And I think society has found a way to sort of like ease their conscience, and now it's like it's just taboo all the way. It's like a blanket now to make themselves feel better now, because back in the day it's always been, so now it's just, no, it's okay, you have a child out of wedlock, no, don't worry, it's a beautiful thing. Yes, a child is beautiful, but the journey to there, you could have taken better steps towards that. That's just a...
Bro, why do you think?
I think first and foremost, broski, from the get-go, let's be real. Whether you a pastor or not, sin is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not sin, no.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it,
I ain't
I'm
taking
just
no
saying.
talk back.
Now go for it.
Sin is nice, bro, and Satan knows that we as human, we like sin, bro. It's a nice thing, bro. But obviously he's pulling this, he's got this agenda, and he has the end goal in mind, bro. Like you were saying, it ends up in a broken family. It ends up in fatherless kids and so forth on. But to answer the question, broski, I think in the world, this is how people think, bro. They think that the answer to problems that you're facing and so forth on is sex, is sleeping around with women and so forth on. It puts you on that
void,
it puts you on that high. Doesn't fill the void, but it puts you on that temporary high. So that's why they push it, bro. But we obviously here saying that there is something higher and something better that can fill that void. But
Do you believe that some of these producers of these movies and of these, like I know, for example, we're gonna call out some actual popular people who are iconic in the popular culture, people like a Cardi B, right? That comes out with music videos that are extremely
but it's referred
It's a
to as
biggie.
art. It's not referred to as like immorality. I mean, it's art, is it not?
Yeah, it's art, but at its core, it's immoral, right? At its core, it's immoral. I can call rape art as well. I can call murder art as well, and use the blood and make a picture and then call it art. But at its core, it's immoral. And so when we begin to look at these things that are being normalized, it to me, from my spiritual point of view, and also from my background of my background of being in the space where I've spoken to young people, and in the space where I've counseled situations, and in the space where I've come across these kinds of situations, being in that space, to me it shows an intrinsic deeper hurt and insecurity and things that is being dealt with by these artists, and they find a place to lash out. And because music is an art, it's a good place to kind of get your emotions out there and get your feelings out there. And so everything, it's a coping mechanism. So everything that is being put out there onto that screen, everything that's been put out there to me shows a deep reflection of your innate what's going on inside of your spirit, and what you are struggling with, and what you are dealing with inside of your spirit. So whenever somebody becomes, and that's why the Bible says what the heart is full of shall come out of the mouth. Whenever somebody becomes overtly promiscuous and doing all these things, it shows a deep-rooted struggle that you are battling inside of your heart and in your spirit, that you yourself is struggling with. And so when you begin to look at people like Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, or people who trivialize these sexual things, to me, what I see is a little girl struggling with perhaps being molested, or a little girl struggling with father walking out on them, or a little girl struggling with promiscuity because they got exposed to pornography at an early age, or a little girl struggling. And I'm willing to put money on it if ever there's a what do you call this, like an interview, and they get asked on that, I'm willing to put $1 million on it that is the case.
I think, and maybe you can answer this, broski, as a pastor, to make it worse for us, bro, and I'm under correction, besides Jesus and maybe Joseph, these prophets and men in the Bible hasn't made it any easier for us. Because yes, we can highlight the Drakes, the DJ Khaled's, and all these people, but if there was media back then,
those people would have been in the same in a similar position. So when you and I know you referring to someone like David, because I know you like David. And so
But
and,
that's an untidy example.
and we had this conversation about it the other. Did you want to jump in on the David conversation?
Oh, wow. That's such a deep conversation because, you know, everyone just sees David as this man, this king after God's heart. But David's life was extremely, extremely untidy if you have to look at his house. The sexual immorality and sin that took place basically spilled over onto his kids. His son raped his daughter. His other son murdered his other kids. You know, there's a whole...
His other son wanted to overthrow him.
wanted to overthrow him. So there's, you know, and that all stemmed from the fact that he had raped someone and killed her husband and then took that woman into his own house, which was sexual immorality.
So here's the thing, and this is the conversation we always have, right? You can trivialize sex, like, David was a man after God's own heart and God still loved him, blah, blah, blah. Facts.
Yeah.
True. But then the
Well,
other
he
side
repented.
of the other side, and he repented. But the other side of the coin, remember when then Samuel comes to him and says, now the sword will be on your house, where it's like, ay, and then all those nonsense things happens to him afterwards. And so again, that's always God's promise that with there's recourse for action.
Yeah, it does show the bad fruit that was.
There's
Because
fruit that comes with
anything,
action.
and we're saying this with sexual immorality, but anything that you do has a consequence. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just magically disappear. Like, let's take, for instance, murder. You have to go to jail. You know, there is a consequence that's not going to be, you know, just magically disappear. And that's the same with sexual immorality in the home. It really filters through to your kids. And you mentioned just now that the ECD, the early childhood development stage of a child, that forms the conscious state of that child for the rest of their lives. We've counseled so many couples struggling in relationships, struggling with daddy issues and all of these things, and that stems from the first 7 years of their life. They'll say, when I was young, this happened, or when I was young, my father did this or walked out. It really forms, and it comes out at a much later stage in your life. You know, it forms so much of your thinking, your emotional state. You know, it just carries on. It's not like it's just gonna, no, it's okay, you know, I'll just replace it with someone or just find a guy. It doesn't work that way.
So mainstream then goes out and tries to trivialize the issues, right? They try to then say, nah, it's nothing. It's just you can sleep with whoever and you can do whatever and you can just... And here's the question, is it really nothing? Is it really as never mind and nonchalant as they make it out to be? Is it really as, you know, you can just do however and it'll be all right? Is it really that? What would you say?
Nah, broski. Sex is so deep, bro. I think from the get-go we gotta let people know that there's, in the spiritual side of things, there's soul ties to this thing, bro. So it's a case of, if I'm sleeping with someone and that person slept with 5 other people, I'm basically inheriting or catching the vibes of all those other 5 people. And that's the soul ties, and vice versa. So it's not just nothing, and that's why people are suffering with depression, or this one's going through this and this one, and you can't seem to find the reason, why am I going through this? But if you actually look back, like,
you're tied to somebody.
Yeah.
Because the thing is here, let's just take a moment and just speak about what is a covenant, right? When you marry someone, you make a covenant. Now, a covenant isn't something like a contract that you sign. There's an exit clause or something. It's a for life thing. You've tied into this thing, right? And a lot of people think that, oh, you know, if I get married and I sign on the paper, then it's a covenant. I'm in this for life. No. A covenant in marriage is only created once the sexual act takes place, which is after the beautiful wedding, which is after this whole thing.
You've
consummated this marriage. When you consummate that marriage, you've entered a covenant, which means that I have become part of you and you've become part of me. So to just sleep around, you've entered so many different covenants with so many different people, and you don't understand what is missing, because you've left something with the other person, and you've taken something that's askew now. You've mixed it, made a whole big mixed masala, which is why, you know, you constantly, why isn't this working out? Why is this? Or you're thinking about somebody else when you're busy with this person. It's not something that just like drinking a cup of tea, you drank it and now it's done. It's not that like that.
So I want to ask this question, Jay. where does society end up if we continue just trivializing matters that God sees as, because God sees these things as important.
It is important.
And there's things that He's put in place for a purpose as to why He put it. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're saying that we believe in God and the way God orders things, we're saying that God is putting these things in a particular order for a particular reason, and we coming here as human beings and just scrapping it all off the table, saying, it's fine, we can just do however. Where does that put us if we continue to just disobey and continue to just do however we feel and just feel like, it's fine? Where does that put society in the end?
Now, reason why I'm laughing, bro, because I'm just thinking about the whole hashtag men are trash, and it's so dumb because here's the here's the thing, Unks. Here's the thing. The world is in a messed up place because it's like this, bro. They push an agenda that it's okay, I'm speaking from a guy's perspective, that's it's okay for a guy to be with so and so and so and so. They say it's okay. Mm-hmm. And in the same breath, men are trash. I don't understand that, bro. And so you saying it's okay, but then at the end of the day you say men are trash. But you said from the get-go that it's fine what you're doing. Mm. The world is pushing that agenda. You can do that. But then you can't at the end of the day come and say men are trash.
To just jump on that, first and foremost, my husband is not trash. My man's not trash.
And your father?
And my father's not trash, and there's quite a few other men. So I think where that comes from, a few men really messed up. A few men did. And we have to negate that there are men that do mess up, as there are women that mess up.
You cannot negate.
Yeah.
The fact.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yo, ladies, it's the homies that y'all are vibing with.
But what I'm trying to
it's
say,
the F boys that y'all are vibing with. Don't be saying men are trash, but you.
It's a blanket statement, and that's what I want to say is that all the men are combed under that one streak because they messed, 2 or 3 men messed up. Okay, quite a few men messed up. But now everyone is like you said, like you're saying, if I have a child with someone else and I've repented and I've said, okay, look, this is a mistake, it happened, my choice is whatever, but I'm staying celibate till I get married. Now I'm just a hoe. So it's like, it must go both ways. So for the few that are out there, not all men are trash, but not all women are promiscuous. Not all women seek to find a man and be a gold digger, whatever. We make blanket statements, and it shouldn't be that way.
Okay, Neil, what's happening? Neil always watching. Neil saying that what morning team? What would you advise to keep or saving yourself for marriage? What would you advise?
I got a question, bro. Before we get to that, is it cool?
No, 100%.
I got a question before we get to that. So, Miles Monroe says that men need sex. Mm-hmm. Sex is good for me.
An island, yeah.
Obviously, in context. And men need sex. What do you do? And this is obviously for you all as a married couple. What do you do if the homie he wants to vibe certain ways and so forth on, mm-hmm. but now the wife doesn't necessarily
come to the party.
Yeah, come to the party.
So that's a conversation that needs to be held between the two of you. And if there's no agreement that can be reached, then you have to see a counselor, where you actually have to sit down and have a difficult conversation.
And don't you think that's why, bro?
And tell the counselor, look, I'm trying to be out here. I don't know, this is an 18 show. I'm trying to be out here doing different styles. I won't mention any kind of styles, but there's this book that has different styles and whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm out here trying to do all of that, and my wife is out here trying to be like, no, missionary, this and that. And so now the guy is like, and so again, there's multiple layers to that question though, because you as the man, what has informed your ability? What has informed your spirit or your desire to want to do different styles? Is it because perhaps you were addicted to pornography? Is it perhaps because you were watching pornography? Is it perhaps that on porn they were doing this style, that style, that style, and that style, and now you want to try it? Is it perhaps just curiosity, and now let me try something else? Is it perhaps promiscuity? Is it perhaps, I don't know. That could be a question that could be dealt with. Just tossing it up. Go.
Yeah, so just to go back to what you were saying, it's important. I think we as women, we're manipulative by nature. So if we want something, that's like a go-to. Not all, some women. So when when it comes to stuff like that, it's important for husband and wife. We're speaking in that context, right? To understand each other's languages, because men speak a different language and women speak a different language. So it's important to understand each other's language and what certain things were meant for. So if you don't understand what sex was meant for, you're going to abuse it. You're not going to use it in its proper context. And these are the things that's why Xavier said it's so layered. These are things people first need to understand before just going around and sleeping around or going into a marriage. You need to be educated on these things. And if you don't understand each other, then go to a counselor who can then sort of relay certain information or what the other one feels, because there's a lot of time when women are just not feeling up for it and men is ready to go, whereas women is not. And if men
what does the guy do in that situation?
He must understand his wife. He must get to know his wife's emotional needs.
If he chooses to attend to his 5 wives,
What to kind of just
I'm not into that 5 wives thing, sir.
No, wifey saying no, she's not in the mood, so not, and you trying to.
No, then he needs to understand. They need to understand each other.
and there's layers to that also, because
Yes.
if it's a matter of nah, I'll show you, I'll spite you, whatever, let me just go and
Yeah,
switch
sometimes
on a
wife is
movie or
also like,
whatever,
I'll
That's
show
what I'm saying.
you. Sometimes
And
wife
so
is
that's
also like
unhealthy
that.
That's
You
what,
didn't do.
that's what I'm saying. Women are manipulative by nature, which shouldn't be innately. That's just our go-to. But women need to learn to become mature enough or find ways to deal with certain things, because women need to be buttered up. Right? Women need to be, you start out with maybe just a coffee in the morning, serenade your wife, speak beautiful. Women want to hear, I love you. Oh, you look sexy. Women want to hear these things. So it's a day process. You get your wife into the mood from the morning to the evening. Men are just ready to go. Men just see the skirt and they're like, yo, baby, you look recht tonight. And that's it. So it's a process. You need to understand.
Take you
each
through
other's
the whole
languages.
day just for you to have a headache at the end of the day.
We won't have a headache. We
you for-
won't have a
Took you for
headache.
coffee.
I've done vibed up the whole vibe, some flowers and everything.
Yeah, but what men don't understand is that you guys, you rock up with the brand new Range Rover and you leave it outside and it's like ding, 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 1,000,000 points for me. No, you've earned 1 point, my man. 1 point. What you do, it starts with pick up your socks, make up the bed. Baby, you look beautiful today. Baby, can I come over and get you lunch? It's the little things that builds up your brownie points, not one big, I made coffee and I cleaned the dishes. No, it doesn't work that way.
Let's answer Neil's question, because that conversation can keep going. And so he's obviously asking, what do you advise to stay celibate for your marriage? The thing is, see, these questions are look, there's a reason people go for counseling. And there's also a reason counseling takes a couple of months, because you literally dissect every layer. We as human beings, we are complicated. We are multidimensional. We have so many different layers. That's why we find ourselves in nonsense positions all the time. Hence why I always say that if Steve Jobs made this product, it's called Apple, right? And my computer, my phone, whatever, it's called Apple. If the producer of the product, let's say the developer of this product, right? The guy that works, I don't remember his name, but they usually interview him. What's his name? No, not Cook. The other one.
The designer.
Yeah. Webb or something. They always interview the guy. Him, if that guy knows every part and every intricate part of this model of phone, and he knows that what makes this phone water resistant, not proof, resistant, is the fact that there's a layer of something going over the speaker and there's a layer of something going over these bottom speakers that kind of prevents the water from going in there. He knows that, you don't. So now you come and you say, nah, this phone is waterproof. You go and do stupid things with it. You go all over the place. And then later on it doesn't work. You can't then come back to the creator of the phone and say, yeah, you sold me a broken phone. You can't do that, because you have went against the rules of engagement of the product, and you have now done your own thing with it. And if they said it's resistant up to 12 meters or whatever, and you go and force it into 20 meters, or you go and crack the screen and then put it into the water, then you have broken the rules of engagement. And so then if it doesn't work, you can't point your finger at the producer of the product and then say, you gave me a broken product. And so likewise, when we have basic instructions before leaving Earth, BIBLE, and the instructor is telling us that this is how this product operates, this is how this product works, this is how how you're going to get the best result out of this product, and you go out and you go and do your own thing, you can't then come back to the producer and say, you sold me a broken product, because then the producer is going to say, yes, but I gave you instructions and a rule book as to how to best utilize this product, and if you decide to go against those, it's on you. It's on you. So if you go to a place where exactly, it's on you. And so if you go to a place where if God says to get the best out of relationships, I suggest you stay celibate, I suggest you get married, and I suggest you build that union together. Don't even get it twisted. Even, and this is the thing that people don't understand, even marriage in and of itself is an incredible task to keep it working at an optimum level. It's a challenge. It doesn't happen by chance or by luck, or you wake up and then everything is just fine. Hence why some people that get a child in order to stay married or in order to trap someone, that child is not good enough glue to keep that thing together. There's effort that has to go into actually making sure that thing works. And so sometimes people get pregnant to try and keep the thing together. Sometimes people trap the other person in different ways. Perhaps open an account on the other person's name or use their ID for some. Oh, there's interesting ways people get around this. But that's not a good enough way to keep something together. This thing takes work to actually keep together.
Yeah, that's very true. But if we have to just go back to his question in how do you, he's saying that what would you advise in keeping or saving yourself for marriage? So if I understand the question correctly, he's basically asking, what do you do? What are the steps to take to stay celibate? And I think for men it's different. For women, as for women, but from a spiritual and a biblical perspective, it's important to then soak yourself in the word. Find things to do that are spiritually active, that if you know that this thing triggers you, do something else, find a different outlet. Alternatively, just tell yourself no. But if you don't have the willpower to just say no, then find something to do with your time. Find something to do to keep your mind preoccupied all the time. And don't put yourself in situations where you know you're not going to say no, where you know you're not going to get off the couch and say, no, this isn't right, So,
and it's possible, and I think a lot of people think it's not possible. We've dealt with couples many a times, and we one of those couples where we managed to say, this is not working for me.
Not going to happen.
I'm staying away, blah, 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 blah. So it's possible. It's very, very, very possible. Because I think in the 21st century, if you say you're a virgin, people look at you like there's something wrong with you. But it's possible to abstain. So yeah, there's, like Anka said, there's different ways. And again, it's these conversations become complicated because they're multi-layered and there's different. Facts. As I said, when you come into a counseling session, there's so many different elements that you deal with. And so many different parts that you deal with. And how do I guide a friend, male or female, that has moved in with his or her partner because of situations and pressures at home? Again, if you are living with someone because of external pressures, it's not that glue is just not strong enough to keep that union together. It's just not. In fact, it's like trying to glue something together with cement. Cement is a strong adhesive and a bond for buildings. But you can't glue, like if your phone breaks, you can't put cement on it. Or if something breaks that you can glue together, you can't use cement. Likewise, you can't use super glue to build a building. And so different forms of...
I'm thinking of plates.
Yes, the glue, the building with super glue.
Nah, we just connects everything, bro. Broken charger and it's mixed with this.
And so,
but it makes it work.
And so, likewise, what I'm saying is that you can't glue something together with the wrong adhesive. So if you are moving in with someone because of situations at home, it's the wrong adhesive. It's the wrong reason. It's like, hey, bruh. And so that thing is destined for failure. It's probably not going to work out. If you are making moves to try and circumvent or try to avoid other things that you're just doing it for the wrong reason. The only way to do it is to deal with it. If there's an issue at home, then the only way to get through it is to actually face it and
I'd
try
say
to-
ask this question, right? If the situation were any different, if everything was okay at home, you were working in a good job, in a perfect world, if you were okay, would you still have wanted to marry this person, and would you still have wanted to move in with this person? Because a lot of the times that's just, I'm not really interested in this person. There's a lot, the model is a bit broken, but I'll use it now because it's the only thing available to me now, which is why Xavier's saying that the glue, the adhesive is the wrong adhesive to use. So it's important to go back to see what is the reasoning behind things. And then also going back to Christian principles, you can't work hard, can't do, because those things come to bite you in the future, because you're going to have to go back to counseling, you're going to have to work through these things, and you're just saving yourself so much trouble by just avoiding these things completely and doing it the right way.
100%, and that's the thing. And I think let's move over to the children's side of things. And again, I think just to add on to that, if it was really nothing, you wouldn't have had these kind of traumas. And people later on in their life saying that, yes, this happened to me and that's why I ended up like this, or, because it is traumatic. It is traumatic. So that proves to you that it's not nothing. Again, I made a comment here to say if it was just nothing, why is it such a big contribution or factor to sometimes people committing suicide, or sometimes people kind of, going off the rails, because it contributes to that. I'm talking about relationships, parenting. It is a significant part of your life. And so when we begin to look at parenting, at the moment we have, which we're planning on kind of keeping it that way, we have 2 kids.
At the moment.
2 girls. And I think there's this bond that happens when you have your own children. A lot of times you'll find people saying that I never understood the love of Jesus or the grace of Jesus until I got my own child, because a grace passes a normal grace. Because if you ever heard mothers that knew their children were naughty, or that knew their children were stealing, or that knew their children were on drugs, or they know it, but they kind of always find a way to either justify their kid, or they try to take the child's part, or they try to they can't tell the cops that my kid did it, because it's still their child at the end of the day.
It's saying a part of you did it, like you did it.
And so that love is equated to the love of Jesus, where it's a matter of no matter how badly you mess up, Jesus is always going to say, yeah, I know, but, it's still my child, and, I still need to have room for them. Maybe they can change. Maybe there's always that optimistic outlook, which is called grace and hope. And, that thing to say that, maybe something can change. Maybe this person can be better. Maybe. And that love, we as human beings, one of the ways in which we experience that kind of love is when we do have children. And our responsibility towards our children is a massive one. Like early childhood development, like teaching them and training them. That's why when LGBT community comes out and says a child is allowed to make those kind of life-changing decisions in a stage of their lives where their cognitive skills has not even really developed yet, or they can't even make decisions of what pajamas they want to wear, or they can't even make decisions on what they want. They can't even make proper dietary decisions. You as a parent, it's your responsibility to make those decisions for your child, to say that, hey, you can't be eating cereal all day because it's going to affect you, your diet, or it's going to affect your health. So you can't also be eating red meat all day because it's going to affect your health. You can't just be eating a certain kind of food all day because it's going to affect your health. And you as a parent, it's part of your responsibility to guide your child in that direction and to help your child in that direction. That's why I disagree categorically with the child is big enough to make their own decisions. You as a parent, that's part of your responsibility to assist the child in that decision-making process.
Not only that, being a parent and being with other people that also have kids, you constantly hear the statement, oh, the child doesn't want to, oh, it's not the child's personality. That is nonsense. The reason why I say that, first and foremost, it is our responsibility as parents to create an absolute safe environment for our kids. And the reason why we have to create that safe environment for our kids, whether it be trauma, whether it be use of language, use of statements, being sensitive towards certain things in life that is seen as politically incorrect. We have to constantly sort of prepare our kids. We create our kids' conscience from a very, very early age. And the way I see it as a conscience is this big warehouse. If something happens or this child is presented with a certain situation, they should be able to go into the warehouse and into a specific box to say, okay, this is the solution. I shouldn't take this. I shouldn't steal this. This is wrong. This comes from a certain box. But if we as parents haven't equipped our kids to put certain things in the boxes already, there'll be nothing in that box for the child to know that, no, this is wrong. I shouldn't be hitting this person, or I shouldn't be stealing this, or I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't be rude to somebody. It's our responsibility to fill those boxes of the conscience. It's our responsibility to create a safe space for our kids, because that essentially creates a healthy adult one day, you know?
Yeah. So that's it. But the responsibility of us as parents is a big one. And again, you don't ever want to negate the fact that a child has their own personality. And you want to actually identify their personality early and try to see how you can enhance it. Like, for example, if you know that a child is able to play an instrument, you want to try and push that, that part of them. If you see that my child is good at playing the piano or good at playing the guitar, you perhaps want to try and see how you can enhance their ability to do so. If you see my child is good at mathematics or languages or whatever, you want to try and see how can I assist my child in that. Give your child kind of a head start in that. But again, that's more so on the moral side of things. But if you see your child is becoming a bully, you don't want to say, yes, my child is becoming a good bully. Maybe let's see how many children we can beat up today. Or if you see your child is stealing, hey, my child is a good thief. Come, let's see how. And so there's a moral line there again that is drawn between the two. And you as a parent, it's your responsibility to see, to try and decipher what makes sense for my child and what doesn't. And there's people always say this, there's no real rule book to parenting, and there's no real right or wrong way of doing it. But the best way that you can potentially do it is, if for myself, we chose to go with the biblical way of doing it and the Christian moral way of doing it. They call it the Judeo-Christian worldview of doing it, as far as discipline is concerned, as far as putting things into place for my child to be able to have a better future. And so, different people have different outlooks and different people see things differently, but that's the way we chose to go with it. But I think let's go over to the positives, I guess, and how we can avoid some of these things and how we can get the best out of all of these things. So I think let's go over to...
Yeah, which part? We're speaking of kids, and then also...
So I think relationships moving into kids. I think we made it abundantly clear of the direction we decided to take, and the direction that we would lean towards and advocate for, which would be the Judeo-Christian worldview direction of raising a child with mom and dad. What happens in the event that a situation is outside of someone's control? The father dies, or the father walks out, or something happens that's outside of, or the mother dies, or the mother walks out. Something outside of the parent's control. Surely that can't be their fault. Surely it can't be the child's fault necessarily that those things just happen to them. How do they then deal with those? These are deep psychological...
Yeah, bro. I think there's grace for that situation. And God will obviously...
provide outlets. Like an uncle or a church or an environment.
Because there's nothing you can do about if the dad passes on.
I think it's important, like, especially for a single mom or a single dad, to be plugged in at the right place, to be plugged in at the right spiritual base where, you can get certain support, where you can get certain counseling, where you can get people who speak into your life positively, or be a figure for your child in that role. And I do ultimately believe that God does send somebody to fill that role. However, going back to how sexual immorality tunes into raising your child or creating an image for your child, I think it's important to understand that especially for a girl or a woman, our our sort of like way or our view of how we see God when we do serve God is our fathers, is the first impression that our fathers have given us. So if we are raised in a home where our mothers have multiple boyfriends or have someone who's hitting or abusing her or coming and going, that is going to be the view. It's going to sculpt that view for us going forward. And that is why it's so important that you have your children in a safe environment. I say this again, that it's our responsibility, our utmost responsibility as parents, to create a safe environment for our kids. Because even for boys, this creates the norm for them going forward. And remember, every man is supposed to be someone's husband someday. Every woman is supposed to be someone's wife someday. And that is what is going to create the view of what a husband is supposed to be, what a woman is supposed to be. So what are we basically doing by this, by doing things? No, it's okay, I can sleep around. Or, no, it's okay, you know, my boyfriend is going to come over and parade him in front of your children, and every other week you have a boyfriend. That is something you set forward. It's a trend, it's a culture you set forward for a lifetime for your children, and they will replicate that, and they will replicate that.
Unless they decide to do otherwise, or unless they come into a contact with we've also been in multiple situations where people have found solace in a church environment, in a church community, where they then realize that, okay, this is not how it should be. Okay, you know what, let me adjust it. And then you find people who make those decisions for themselves. Like, I don't want, like how my opening statement was, I don't want this for my family, the way my mother was with my father. I don't want this the way it was at my house. I want to instill different things in my house. I want to be in an environment where we can eat around the table. And then that for you is something that you as an individual put in place for yourself. And there's a strong character that has to go with it, a strong willpower, because it's not something that will come natural to you. You have to actually work towards, like, hey, let me consciously make decisions to not do what my father did in my house or my mother did in my house, and work towards not going into that direction. And it could be many different things. You even get households where both parents are present and the environment is also not healthy necessarily. So it's not just a matter of single parenting or a matter of, you know, promiscuity or whatever. You can find a perfectly a household where both parents are present, and then also there could be abuse involved, or there could be, substance abuse involved. Someone gets drunk all the time, or there's drugs involved, or whatever. So these are all these things. And again, like I said, it's very, very complex, and you won't be able to touch all the points
everything,
in a session like this. There will be multiple counseling sessions over time.
I just want to add, when you started out and then you said that if you look at, the whole Cardi B, like social mainstream media and all of these things, and you see that it comes from a place, it comes from, hurt or past experiences, and that is really how it is. It doesn't matter which situation it is in life, you must always sit back and question, where is this person coming from? What hurt is this person reacting from? Because a lot of the stuff is undealt with issues from when they were either a child, when they were either like in the teenage phase. That's just basically playing out in a different way because they found a different coping mechanism. So in the same way of being in a home where parents maybe it wasn't a conducive environment, it's important to find out what is it, go for counseling, get plugged into a good spiritual base where, that can come out and it can be dealt with so that, it's a healthier future.
Yeah, but what do kids do though? If you find yourself,
it's difficult
for kids, and hence why the responsibility is so much on the parent. Because what can the kid do? That's all the kid sees. That's all the kid knows. That's what the kid is being exposed to all the time. Fighting, throwing around things, swearing, being abrasive with one another. And then later on, that kid goes to school, starts bullying other kids at school, or things happen to that kid, or the kid is just quiet in the back corner there. And the kid suffers from a self-conscious issues.
And you know what the scary part for me is, a lot of people will do things or watch things and say, oh no, he's small, he's too small to understand what's happening. That is an absolute lie. I say that again, because your ECD is from the age of birth up until 7 years old.
The kids hear and they see and they comprehend.
It forms everything that child comprehends and the way they perceive things. So that is an absolute lie. Why is the child bullying at school? Because something is happening at home. Something that is not conducive for good parenting, for a good child, a healthy child, is happening at home. And that is why it's so important that parents need to understand the importance of their role. It's not just, oh, I have a child and they're too young, I must just feed them and clothe them and they'll be okay. No, there's so much more that goes with parenting.
Okay, guys, we're gonna have to call it a day. Victoria Twala says, you are so correct, Anka. Children learn from parents. What, read there, baby?
You are well behaved, abs and nice they are. You are nasty, they are too.
Oh, okay, so she's saying whatever the parent does, that's how.
If you're sad, they are sad. Yeah, your kids copy what you do. It's not genetic.
It's not genetic.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there is definitely an impact that you have on your child. And so again, I'm going to close all of this by saying that sex is not just being with random people.
Facts.
Relationships is not just, hey, I like your bum, oh, I like this, come, let's go and be together. It's much deeper, and later on where children do come, there's a lot to consider. It can be beautiful. It doesn't have to be a pain. It doesn't have to be an issue. However, it does take constant work. It does take constant kind of, you have to work towards it. It doesn't just happen by chance. And the best way to work towards it is to find some sort of ground base to work from, some sort of moral compass, some sort of basis to say that, okay, this is my base that I'm working from, my foundation that I'm working from. Let me try and build something here. And part of what gives us purpose as human beings is that part of society that we become, where we become part of a lineage, where we become part of, I'm someone's father, I'm someone's grandfather, where we become part, it's part of what gives us fulfillment as human beings. And oftentimes people who have successful companies and big companies, they can be successful and they can enjoy that success and they can say, but I've oftentimes had friends where they've made successful moves in their lives and they've got the cars and the houses and the money and everything. And oftentimes they say to me, bro, I wish I had someone to share this moment with. I wish I could go with somebody on a holiday. I wish I could go with. And I'd say to my friend, like, or friends, I say, but you can have whatever girl you want. And they'd say, yes, I can, but I want someone that I want to
Can
say this is
build
my
this properly.
person, and that I can build with, that I can do things with. That later when we have children, we raise those kids together. I've had friends tell me I have the houses, the cars, the money, can have whichever girl I want. But in the end, it gets to a place where it almost becomes meaningless. Where it almost becomes, you know what? Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I want something a little bit more serious than this. And so that's part of what gives us as human beings part of our purpose and a sense of fulfillment to do that. And that's why it's so critical to do it right. And it's not just nothing. And it's not just, we'll see how it goes. No, it's very, very, very serious. And it's very, very, something you should take seriously and something you should, that's why I'm an advocate for counseling. I'm an advocate for trying to get
Marriage.
the proper, getting it done the correct way. I really am, because I can see the damage it causes in the lives of children. I can see the damage it causes even to friends, family, people that I know that has been through divorce, people that have been through, and I can see that it's not just nothing. It genuinely is something. And so that's why I would say to anybody who is in a position where they are in a bit of a tough one, seek proper counsel, seek proper guidance, seek perhaps. And for me, the only answer I can give you is a spiritual answer, which is Jesus. And I would say, seek a good church. I'm not saying come to Crystal. I'm not saying go to whichever. I'm saying find a good church where you can grow properly, and a proper church, a good church. Not a cult, not a, where people are out to extort you. A proper actual church where you have pastors and counselors
Facts,
and
bro.
people walking with you.
I think
praying
ultimately
with you.
Jesus is the only answer, bro.
100%.
He is, because I know of counselors in the world that will say stuff like, have some time apart from each other.
I've heard that,
Some
and that is
space and
disturbing.
all of that.
That is disturbing, because especially if you're in a relationship, in a married relationship, apart from what? A break from who? You need to
The
work
aim
it
is to try and
through.
work it through, not leave each other.
Because
Because in that the part time, then you meet someone else and then what?
and also, people are creatures of habit, and we adapt to that type of habit. So if you do something long enough, and 3 weeks is what? 21 days. 21 days
Yeah.
is the perfect amount of time to create a new habit. To not be with this person, to not want to be around this person.
to
So
get a different
that
groove,
is
yeah.
a lot of
Wake up
nonsense.
your times, do your own stuff. But guys, we're gonna have
Big
to call
facts.
it a day. And yeah, thank you for joining me on today's
Big
show.
blessings.
It was a heavy one. It was a serious heavy one. But yeah, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's show, also please do subscribe to our channel. We are on, I don't even know what we're on now, 700 and something or 800. Jay, check there.
We on 794.
794. We're almost on 800. Let's get
Approaching
to 1,000.
800.
Let's get to 1,000. We have people. Please, if you share this, if you can like this, if you can hit the bell. Yeah, it just helps the algorithm to show people that hey, there's something worth watching here. Come check it out. And see you on the next video. Tomorrow we got an interesting show. Also Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we got interesting shows every morning at 9. So you don't want to miss that. See you on the next one. Love you.
Let's get it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it.
Good morning to the folks. What up to the youngins and bless up to the world.
And then Jay just puts your info on blast like that.
It's what the people want to know, bro. My bad.
Nah, bro.